pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mr. Kazarowski.
Sam Madola. Here. Mr. Kraus. Here. Ms. Perry.
Here.
Ms. Glosser.
Here.
Ms. Stamets.
Here.
Mr. Rosario.
Here.
Mr. Lavassie.
Here.
Solicitor Corbel. Here.
All right, thank you. Move forward to the approval of the ratified bill list, May 30th, 2018.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, or the bill list is ratified. Approval of the bill list, June 11th, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the bill list. Approval of the minutes, May 21st, 2018.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Approval of the minutes. Moving forward to citizen comments, we have a few folks that have signed up and received, if they have anything that's on the list here. Nothing's on the list. All right, the topics here aren't on the list, so we'll just go to we'll get through the meeting and then we'll go for open discussion at the end, right? Moving forward to the solicitor's report, Mr. Corbel.
Nothing to report this evening.
All right. Mayor's on vacation, and we'll move forward to the business agenda. Under administration, we have a motion to adopt resolution number 2018-16, Allegheny County Side Yard Program Property Block and Lot 39B 215, 1656 Crafton Boulevard in accordance with the comprehensive plan.
So moved. Seconded.
All right, any discussion?
I do.
Yes.
I'm wondering, when will this be going forward? I know someone who has put the request in, and it was put in maybe a year and a half ago.
Is it the Burgess property?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
That actually takes a little bit of time. It's easier for the vacant property. It has to be approved by the county. The county just approved the side yard program. That property that I guess you're in question on Fountain Street is moving forward.
No,
Which one?
it's one on Belvedere Street. It's attached to 17 Belvedere Street.
I'm not familiar with the paperwork on that.
It was turned in, it had everything attached to it, and it had money that went in with it, and nothing has come
I'll
forward.
have to follow up on that then.
Okay.
I'll take a look and see where it is, what
All
the
right.
status is. But I'm aware of the two properties
Okay.
since I've been on board, and that's the Fountain Street one and the one we have on Crafton Boulevard. This is the beginning stages of that process now, so.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get back to you, I'll check up on, see what the status is.
All right, thank you. She's curious.
Okay. Thanks for filling us in on that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, all that opposed? All right. Motion carries, thank you. Mr. Rosario, could you provide a update on the borough manager search with your committee?
Yes, we are still reviewing resumes though, and we're actually going to be getting together this week to review everything again though, and to likely make determinations though as to possible setting up for interviews. And I think Ms. Perry had something else you,
So we've been talking about perhaps having some professional assistance with the screening process, which we should have more information. We've explored a couple of options, discarded the first couple that were deemed a little too expensive, and I should have something to report to the committee on Wednesday evening, and we'll let council know if it's something the committee feels it's worth pursuing, and we'll connect with the council if there's anything that needs to be approved by council.
Okay. Mr. Rosario, from the time of our advertisement, how many resumes have come in?
Top of my head.
14.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was 15.
Yeah, you could be right, you could have lost track here.
Okay. All right, so do we need any other mechanisms, Indeed.com or anything else?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I think we have 2 candidates that we're very interested in pursuing, and I think that we have to meet about that, but that was kind of the general direction after our last meeting, and I think we want to pursue those before we decide whether we need to do anything.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the update. And moving forward to Public Works, a motion to authorize the solicitor to draft an ordinance establishing a weight restriction for Ewing Road after consulting with the borough engineer.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
They are, they don't have any kind of estimate right now that they gave to us, right? Weight limit.
Actually,
Actually, I did receive a notification from the engineer earlier this morning. It's going to be a 5-ton weight limit from, this is considered Grandview Extension to the ball fields. That one section's been closed for a number of years.
Okay.
I met with the engineers on site. There was a few recommendations. Some are basic maintenance issues, pruning trees, cleaning up the existing roadway, patching and fixing base as needed, and a small section where we're going to put some small retaining wall. We're going to do it in-house with the actually supplies we have on hand. There's some door block that's been down the yard from a previous project. We're going to utilize that. Any purchases we're probably going to need to do that I see is going to be minimal, little geotech stop material, some gravel, some slag, and some drainage pipe for the project. All be done in-house at a minimal cost. Some labor-intensive work we need to do as far as tree removals. I'll probably have to run a piece of equipment like a high lift to get in and remove some of the dead trees and some of the limbs. It's going to be the most labor-intensive thing is the tree removals, but we'll start on that as soon as I get the ability to rent the lift to get in there and do the tree work.
So, is there an approximate time window?
It all depends about the rental equipment. When that becomes available, I'll probably have for a week to 10 days to do the tree removals, and not real sure how long it's gonna take us to do the door block wall. I'd say probably the same time frame, 7 to 10 days, we'll have that done, and the road should be open, get the signs in for the weight restrictions, so forth, and do a little work on the gutters, and stormwater management. We should take us probably 2 weeks to do it. Once I get a start date, I'll let the council know.
So we're looking at about August, September? around-
Oh, no, hopefully no later than mid-July,
Oh,
end of July.
okay.
So.
Mr. Kazarowski,
Yes, sir.
has the engineer issued any type of report to the borough with their recommendation?
Yes, he did. I just got that late today. I have it. I'll
If
forward
you
that.
could forward that to me, we'll need it for preparation of the
Well,
ordinance.
certainly, I'll get that to you tomorrow morning.
Thank you very much. I would, just so council knows, I would think that we would be able to adopt this by the first meeting in July.
Okay, great. All right. Since there's motion on the floor, may I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All that opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. A motion to award bid to State Pipe Services Incorporated for Shaycog Joint Municipal Preventive Maintenance Year 8 contract as recommended by the engineer, included in the 2018 sewer fund budget. Crafton Borough share of $26,345.50. Total cost of the project $82,971.50.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All that opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Planning and zoning, we have our intern. I'd like to introduce everybody to Chris Bell. Chris, could you come forward and introduce yourself to council, please? Chris is an intern with Carnegie Mellon. He's our sponsored intern through the Federal Work Study Program. So Chris, could you give us a few minutes spiel on where you are, where you're going, and how you're gonna help?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Chris Bell. I just finished my first year at Heinz. I come all the way from Philadelphia, New Jersey. I worked for 4 years in nonprofit finance and social outcome work at a nonprofit in Philadelphia. So this summer, thank you for having me in the Crafton community. I'm really excited to be here. I have a GIS background, and I'm going to be leveraging that in terms of planning, zoning, and ordinance. So the current ARC Online work that is been done for Crafton, we're going to leverage that into expanding it into new ways, hopefully into tracking some new planning, some new zoning, and some blight action. I'm working with Eddie and his blight action team to kind of back up his work into that area. And I'm also looking at some ordinances, kind of what can be expanded upon, best practices, and leveraging all the resources at Heinz. I've already met with some professors to help me work through that process throughout the summer. If there's any other areas that you would love for me to look into, I'm happy to sit down and talk. I'm here to learn. I'm here to work in a community like Crafton to really learn this community and see whether this might be a career for me in the future after I graduate. So thank you for having me this summer, and I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. So, okay, all right. So first motion, the authorized gateway engineers to prepare the plans and specifications for the demolition of 1508 Bar.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Motion to authorize to advertise the planning commission's meeting schedule for 2018, June 26th, July 24th, August 28th, September 25th, October 23rd, November 27th, December 11th, and these meetings will be at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, thank you. All right, discussion items. With your emails today, council, you'll have seen a proposal from Public Partners to provide assistance, and so I'm going to read this. Consideration and discussion to engage Richard Hadley with Public Partners of Pennsylvania and provide management, financial management consulting services to the Borough of Crafton for an average of 10 to 15 hours per week, authorizing interim management services and engagement letter, period not to exceed 90 days. On-site works 95, office time away from our office is $85 an hour, and travel time is billed at the off-site rate as well. So this is just to for council to consider and let Mr. Kazarowski have some options. I know we're getting into a really busy time, so I'm going to let Rob speak to what's on his plate and see if it's necessary. I know we just want to make sure that he's resourced correctly. So.
Well, I appreciate the offer, and I'd really like to do a little research on it. Talking with the intern today about his background in financial planning and so forth. I'd like to tackle some of the questions and comments the council might have. Take it upon ourselves to see if we can come up with the answers and suffice whatever council is looking for as far as the fiscal responsibilities of the borough. Just after a little time, I think it's a great offer, and it's something that really, once we get moving with the public works projects, I want to spend less time in the office. I know that the ordinance part of the job that I'm taking on has been slightly pushed back, some issues and problems that need addressed, and the manager's office. So I mean, I'm wearing the three hats. It's been very busy and hectic at this time, but we have the interns in here now. I'd like to give the interns an opportunity to work with me and the staff that we have in the office to see if we can answer some of the questions and concerns the council has regarding the budget. We can try that first before we seek a consultant to come in and pay those duties and fees for it. So just an opportunity, maybe the end of the month, by the first meeting in July, to come up with a response and see how we do with working with the interns and staff about the fiduciary questions the council might have.
Thank you. All right, then we'll, does anybody else have any questions or any concerns? My intent in bringing this forward is just to, if we need help, that Rob can pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm going to phone a friend, and if we come to that, we have you know, a friend, we have a consulting partner that could backfill if we need help. But so far, I think you've been doing a wonderful job as operations manager, and the staff internally have been doing a great job stepping up to the plate, and seeing them grow these past few months and really embrace their responsibilities, wonderful, and having the interns here, without a doubt, is going to help. So at this point, I'm going to follow your lead, so thank you. So moving on to Public Works, I'm going to let you take the lead on that section.
Okay, this is, I believe, the third year in a row that Duquesne Light has offered us an LED overhead light conversion. What they do is they take the old overheads and convert them to LED street lights. We get approximately 10 a year. We've been moving through with the process. We use some, I say, dimly lit areas. We use the park area to use the LEDs along Afton Street, Richmond, a couple of the areas. I just want to bring to council to see if there are any recommendations or a section of the borough that they see that we can take advantage of this program. I have to have it in before the end of the month, but it's a simple process. It costs $110 for the conversion, and we have the LED streetlights installed by Duquesne Light. So just reaching out to council to see if they have any recommendations they can forward to me for the conversion, and I'll move that forward to Duquesne Light.
So does the chief have any opinions, or
I'll talk to him in the morning. I was going to ask him some.
the park, like, we have a fair amount of the park covered, but
What about over like Fountain and DeSoto and the newly
Ewing.
completed Ewing Road, which is dark,
yeah.
very dark?
That would,
Yes.
that would, and there's two streetlights actually in a section of Ewing Road that
Sycamore,
we're going to open.
yeah, all that promenade over there.
Maybe we could talk with the interns and see what the residents' opinions are, because I know we've had concerns in the past with the light shed.
It can be redirected. I think we had a complaint in Richmond and Hampton on the properties there, but they can divert the lights away from the property and have it more directly on the street. I know that's doable too. Again, it's out there for your recommendations. If council-
My recommendation would be like the public stairs, probably would be one of the top after the parks.
That's good idea. That's fine. So,
Yeah, there's some dark spots in Crafton at night.
there is definitely some dead spots.
I mean, there's probably more than, you know, I mean, it's not, I mean, because when you're by some of the busways too, you get a lot of spillage from that, so I feel like some of the spots aren't probably like down the street from like on Chartiers and stuff over there.
Well, there's a number of locations, so again, it's a 10 a year we get, so it's a nice way to piecemeal them into the system.
St. Philip's area. Alice, how do you feel about the lighting out that way?
It doesn't bother me, I think it's fine there.
Okay.
You know, and I think it was down on Afton that we had the problem, and it was with the cover on it. And all they did was redirect it, and it was fine. But I think coming up even on Steuben Street down there where our lights are, especially where you're seeing where the turning lane is, it's not bright enough for that. Then you have people trying to cut over. What do you think? I don't think
The police
St.
will
Philip's-
know where to.
Yeah, I'll get a recommendation from the police too as well. I just want to present it to council and have council's opinion to see if they have any areas they feel are critical. So noted, and I'll take it to the police and we'll discuss options. PennDOT specs for attraction directional sign, Crafton English Shopping Center. I reached out to our sign fabricator, and specifically for the directional signs for the Crafton English Shopping Center. I think council had it inside their packet what they are. It's a PennDOT spec for anything on the state highway. So there really wasn't too many options. It's a blue and white directional sign. It's 72 inches long. It's a pretty nice size, but it's what you need to do on Steuben Street, which is state highway. My recommendation is start at the two key intersections, Linden, put one heading both directions. I know if you go past Foster, we'll have two at Foster going in both directions, coming up and down 60 for Steuben Street. So we'll start with those four locations. Cost of the sign is $155 a piece. So it's going to be reimbursed to us by the shopping center. So I think we start there with those four key critical locations, and we have to expand. We expand with the working with the shopping center group.
Is it just blue and white or no?
Blue and white, blue background with white font with directional arrow right and left. Some of it has mileage, but I don't think we need mileage on it since it's right at the intersection.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's certainly an upgrade for $155.
Yeah, it's a start. If I'm just gonna throw that money and invest it in, well, actually, they're gonna pay for the signs if council chooses so.
Well, council should choose.
The next pulled in order is the Allegheny Global Environmental Inc., this tied into the 1508 R Avenue. The borough had it tested, I contacted the environmental group, they went in and did an asbestos check on that property, and I'm happy to say that it was clear and free of any asbestos. So that'll be less of a charge when we get the quotes and bids in for the demo of that property.
Okay.
How long on that?
Just authorize the engineer to solicit bids. And it should be coming, I'm gonna guess somewhere, and looking at the projected cost for demos throughout the borough, probably about 15,000. That's what we're looking at.
What's the time frame of like how the bids get solicited to when they?
They'll advertise it, I'll probably give it 7 to 10 days of advertisement, and it's still, probably about, I'd say a good 3 to 4 weeks before you get any work started.
Can I hit it with a sledgehammer?
You have to ask the solicitor that one.
No.
We're at the legal.
Point takes.
So, I don't believe we need a motion for the PennDOT specs and to let the manager move forward with the sign, so just want to nod that we're okay with that, so, all right. So, make sure you go ahead and facilitate that. All right. Announcements. We have the Savvy Citizen app. It's live. The staff are using it and populating and working with the different stakeholder groups. It's downloadable as an application for your smartphone, tablet, or other device connected to an application store, so Android, iOS. People appear to be steadily signing up for it. There's going to be advertisement on Facebook, and there's going to be signage down by the pool and other public spaces to let people know about the application. And it appears to be improving communication on a regular basis now, so it's only been a couple of weeks. So I encourage everybody to sign up for that. Moving forward, the Crafton pool, it's open. Why don't you tell everybody about the booming weekend we had?
I'm glad you gave me the opportunity there. On Memorial Day, we had a record-breaking day down at the pool. Apparently Robinson Pool was not open, Green Tree Pool was not open, the Way Pool was not open, Crafton Pool was open, and there was a line all the way from the register down to Steuben Street. So I mean, it was a record-breaking crowd as far as attendance and I believe revenue that was taken in for the pool. But there was a number of issues and problems that were brought to my attention. I just want to reach out to the public. There's some incidents that occurred with some of the users of the pool. I understand there was some people that snuck alcoholic beverages in, had some beer, whatever, on the beach. There was some younger kids using profanity and in front of younger, smaller kids that was brought to our attention. And some kids jumped over the fence. There were some kids jumping over the fence, which was causing a problem.
On to Afton?
No, that's sick. And the corner down below, that was the 8-foot fence.
Still good.
They were climbing. And again, I think people, my request is if users of the pool see this going on, see it happening, one, I mean, if I'm there with my kids, grandkids, and I have a young kid that's gonna shoot his mouth off, I'm gonna correct him myself. We feel the need, the manager can address, the 2 co-managers, let them know, make them aware of it. There's alcohol on the beach, or there's something going on with people jumping the fences. We corrected that situation with lifeguards actually patrolling the beach area. Signage has been put up about the right to inspect coolers. If you bring a cooler in, the staff reserves the right to do inspections. And no alcoholic beverages are posted at a few locations, so that's been clearly defined and stated. But again, if people use the residents are using a park and they see a situation, they feel that it's bad enough, the manager should be notified, and if call 911. If you have somebody that's going to cause a problem on the beach, and somebody's a little older, and somebody that you think needs police attention, please just dial 911 and say there's some intoxicated residents on the beach under the pool, and the police will handle it. I think that's the norm for any pool with any type of staffing level that the 911 and the police would have to handle an emergency, I call it an emergency situation like that when you're unruly participants. So I just reach out to the public and ask if you see an incident at the pool, approach one of the managers, a lifeguard, and they're young kids that are actually lifeguards. And again, feel free to dial 911 if you think it's a safety issue that the police need to address. So I just ask all the users of the pool that that's what the police, they'll respond and they'll take care of the situation like it should be handled. So just want to throw that out there. But again, it was a record-breaking day. I think the two new co-managers did a great job considering the amount of people they have, the staff did a great job. There was no issues in the pool as far as people, getting hurt or any safety issues. So the pool itself was good. It's just the activities surrounding the pool that causes some issues.
So we should send Robinson and Green Street a thank you basket.
Wow, it was a record-breaking day as far as making revenues.
Oh, that's good, maybe they'll come back.
Thanks, Rob. We have a notice from a resident about Crafton Wake. It's a poetry series at the Crafton Public Library. It's Wednesday, June 13, 2018, from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Crafton Public Library summer hours. If you've noticed the signage, Monday, Friday, and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Marcia, you want to speak about the senior dinner? All right, senior dinner, Saturday, June 16, 2018, doors open at 5 p.m. I believe that it's been well attended and people are enjoying the entertainment. What's the next entertainment on the schedule?
I don't have it with me.
For the last, did you have dancers, or what was the last?
Magician.
Magician. Okay.
As well as that, we have a couple guys coming to sing.
Okay, great. So again, those are all attended events and the seniors and the community appear to really enjoy. 2018 Side Yard and Blight Structure Program is accepting applications through August 31st, 2018. More information, you can visit our website at www.crafton.org. Crafton celebrates June 30th through July 4th, 2018. Parade is June 30th, 2018 at 2 p.m. Fireworks, July 4th, 2018 at dusk. So I believe the committee has done a lot of hard work and worked with council and the management here to make Crafton Celebrates a success. So we encourage everybody to come out and enjoy the event. The fireworks should be wonderful as they always are. And again, be respectful of the park and your neighbors and be safe. So now,
There's also a 5K with that
oh yeah, firecracker 5K. What time does that start?
in the morning on July 4th,
So, yeah.
Are you gonna be running it?
so I am.
It's wonderful.
I'll be walking.
I'll be driving.
You get
I'll be watching.
Yeah.
So moving forward to additional citizen comments, thank you for waiting so patiently in the audience. I'm going to try to, starts with J.
John Rishnowski.
John, could you?
Jay.
Starts with, go get him, Jay.
Close.
Consul. My name is John Rishnowski. I've been in business, just recently retired last year. Photography business in Crafton for 40 years, starting at 145 Noble to 98, where the pizza shop is, into 92. I'm here basically as a segue to our next speaker. A young businessman wants to take over my studio, which to lease it, and of course I own 12 other properties in Crafton. And being a real estate investor, this is what happens. Buy the properties, people rent, we pay our taxes. So that's what happens, and we don't want another empty storeroom in Noble Avenue. You got the pizza shop, and you have Calabrese Printing, well, you don't want me to go on that again. But I'm going to give this out to you first, so we try to maximize our time, because we only have so much time to speak. That's the interior of the studio. Mr. Felton gave it the A-OK already. Only thing that we needed was a exit sign. a lighted exit sign. And I have just a question on the occupancy permit that's listed on your website. We've agreed to all those stipulations, but it says adult-oriented business. Now, there's not going to be, this is a tattoo parlor, okay? This is not a bookstore, video store, anything like that illegal. Tattoo parlors have taken off since 2001. They're like the thing to do right now. We have one of our speakers that she's going to explain to you why she got a tattoo. There's just a fantastic story to that. But as a business owner, Noble Avenue, that little strip there where I was I was there since '95, it looks bad, except for my building. If anybody wants to ever come inside my building, you'll see it's very commercial. It has steel panels, it's marble floors. It's probably the best looking building on Noble Avenue. You've been in there. And so I'm trying to ask the council to go ahead and give this young businessman a chance in Crafton to get this occupancy permit. He's been through all the hoops already. At first, when he first came into Crafton, maybe he put the cart in front of a horse, thinking that I had an occupancy permit because it was a creative studio photography. He's also a great photographer. So it's photographer slash tattoo artist, okay, very accomplished artist in his own being. So we don't want another empty storeroom on Noble Avenue, okay? And I appreciate, as I said, this is my little segue to our next speaker, but we appreciate your concern and to go ahead and give this gentleman this occupancy permit so he can have a thriving business. And I can still keep paying my taxes on the building. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. David?
Thanks, Jay.
Keep going, Joe.
Just state your name and address.
My name's Dave Plummer. I live on Harrison, right in Crafton. And yeah, so I'm here about 92 Noble. It might come as a surprise, but I do tattoos. It doesn't look like it. But yeah, so the big issue that we're having is the adult-oriented business licensing. On the website, you know, it clearly states, you know, they're defined as like an adult arcade, adult bookstore, novelty store. Many of, you know, it's very adult-oriented, and then at the very end, it's tattoo, body piercing, things like that. I feel like it could have been possibly categorized incorrectly and likely had no representation when that ordinance was made. And I don't know how many tattoo shops have been opened here or anything like that. Doesn't seem like, you know, it would be very easy. But yeah, there's nothing sexual about the tattoo procedure. It's very commonplace in communities across the country. I've tattooed newborn babies' footprints on their proud new parents to commemorate important milestones. I've done countless tattoos in memory of fallen soldiers, firefighters, police officers, and lost family members. But like, if the borough believes that tattooing a cancer ribbon on a distraught 20-year-old daughter who just lost her mother from breast cancer is in any way adult entertainment, then we're experiencing a severe lack of communication with professional artists. And I would like to be that, like the bridge, you know, as a potential like representative of artists in the area. Yeah, nothing adult about what I'm doing, nothing sexual. We have a very cool art studio space in the back that I would love nothing more than to have free to the public, like art classes, you know, stuff like that. Just a place for like young, like curious, just artists to come and paint, and just, you know, I'm drug free. I drug test any employees that I would have working. I would love to be involved with some drug-free oriented charities and things, but I'm just trying to get my foot in the door in Crafton right now.
Thank you.
May I ask him a question?
Go ahead.
So you said you live on Harrison?
I live on Harrison, yeah.
Did you move here?
I moved here from Latrobe about 4 months ago. I live with the next speaker. And yeah, so we're both from Latrobe. We just moved to Crafton. I like how it's it's a small town, but it's in a, you know, it's like a big, so coming from Latrobe, I like the fact that I can drive places and have parking lots instead of being, you know, street parking, things like that. So I just love how it's pretty relaxed. It's a beautiful area. I like living here a lot. I'm trying to keep my business here as well because I just like how open it all is. And I think that there's a lot of room for art to come in, you know, as far as like, you know, as some sort of ambassador for art, if there was any ideas, some installations or things around Crafton, I would be more than happy to hang out with you guys and figure something out. But yeah, we live on at 25 Harrison, and we're right up the street.
Do you, I know we just met, so this is a little awkward, but,
Yes.
but did you buy your home here, or do you rent here?
Yeah.
I purchased the home.
Rebecca owns, and yeah, so I room with her, and it was a nice way to get out of Latrobe and kind of move out here to a bigger area. And yeah, just trying to do some professional things out here.
Well, no, the reason I ask is because I just have I'm really excited to see some younger folks coming to Crafton.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, and that's what it seems like, and that's kind of what I'm catering to, and a lot of younger people nowadays are artists and things like that. And I like I said, I mean, there's a lot of I won't associate with someone who isn't like-minded as far as, you know, drugs and alcohol and things like that. And the tattoo industry, no doubt, has a lot of blights, you know what I mean, with artists that do that sort of thing, but this is definitely not that case. And yeah, I don't have time for it with all the stuff that I do. So.
Did you tattoo in Latrobe?
I did tattoo in Latrobe, yeah. I've been in business for about 8 years, and I've been doing professional work, you know, that entire time. I do photography, I paint, just getting huge into oil painting. I love, you know, every kind of art. Musician, you know, play a bunch of instruments and things, but tattooing is my main focus, and it's what I think that I'm best at, so I do it for a living. So yeah, there's a ton of opportunities that we could have working together as artists, you know.
So what actually drew you into Crafton originally?
Again, it's just, well...
did you just kind of...
Well, when Rebecca moved here, she kind of, you know, spoke about how nice it was, how it was similar to our hometown, but just like a better version of our hometown.
No offense to Latrobe if they're watching.
Oh, go ahead, offend Latrobe, yeah. But it's just one of those things. So yeah, but then when I came out here, I've, you know, obviously spent a lot of time here, and it's just been great. So I was looking at buildings all over the greater Pittsburgh area, and that's how I come across 92 Noble. And yeah, I liked it so much, and I like I said, the area, and I just really it's like a small town, but it's a big, you know what I mean? So I just really like it a lot. So it's where I want to be.
Thank you.
Cool.
Is there an age on how old you have to be to have to get a tattoo?
Well, there is, Pennsylvania has no technical law as far as age. If you're under 18, you have to have your parent or guardian present the entire time. I have waivers for underage individuals, but I don't tattoo anybody under 18. I'm not into, you know, I got my first tattoo when I was 18, and if I'm gonna tattoo artists, you know, then there's no business tattooing anybody bigger than that, really. Family stuff, maybe sometimes, but if it's something dumb, then yeah, definitely, it's kind of the artist's discretion. So, do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't want to ruin any young kid's life by doing a hand tattoo or something. Yeah, so I only tattoo people 18 and over, even though I have the proper paperwork and everything prepared to do that, but the liability is just not worth it to me, and the decision-making maybe isn't there for, you know, minors, so.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. I'm just wondering, I see how many little tattoo areas you have here. I want to know what you're going to do about parking for customers.
Well, that's
It's very narrow down
It
there.
is, of course. We have 3 spaces. I live so close that I was going to start biking, you know, just ride my bike down, and so that would alleviate one of the spaces. Any employees that I might have eventually, we would of course have to address that. We haven't run into that issue yet because we haven't been open, but I would be, you know, there's, you know, any suggestions, any sort of, you know, parking lot sharing with our neighbors or something, you know, something would have to be figured out, but, you know, because I've done a lot of business in Latrobe, and it would only be greater out here, but it would also bring a lot of people into the area that aren't my employees, but, you know, like the people, my customers would of course be patronizing the surrounding, you know, businesses, so. We'll figure that out, huh?
So it sounds like from what you're saying, and I just want you to reassure me and reassure the public here that none of your business on the inside is going to be going toward the vape selling
Oh, no, well,
bongs or anything
see,
like
that's
that?
what I'm saying, that's the thing.
Yeah, well, people.
That's
would think
that's
that,
the assumption,
sure.
isn't it? And so that's, yeah, I don't smoke cigarettes, I don't drink, we don't do drugs, like, there's none of that.
So it won't be a vape shop anywhere.
I'm anti-vape shop. No,
Okay.
it definitely won't be anything like that. And the crowd associated with that, that's not the type of clientele that I cater to primarily. So yeah, that's, something like that wouldn't be an issue. It wouldn't, my shop, in my opinion, wouldn't affect the character in any way of the residential or the commercial, owners or the people who live down there. Yeah, a really low impact kind of thing, and if anything, I'd like to do good instead of, negative.
Yeah, we had a tattoo place across from the Borough building there a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't too long ago.
From where Studio 10 Nails is.
Right, and I spoke
Yeah.
to those people at a tattoo convention when I mentioned that I had moved to Pittsburgh, and they just kind of gave up, they just moved. But like, I don't want to move, I really like the area, so I'm trying to, explore all the avenues before I make a decision like that. But yeah, I was just kind of seeing if you guys would have
Good
any.
luck.
Well, I think it's good that you're a resident here.
Yeah, right.
And if you're, maybe, it's nice to have our neighbors kind of help anchor.
Yeah, it's like I have an interest in making the area better, so yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Rebecca Cedro.
My name is Rebecca Cedro. I'm here on behalf of 92 New Malden, but I live at 25 Harrison Street. Obviously, Mr. Palmer is my house guest, my roommate. I moved here about 5 years ago. Moved to Pittsburgh about 5 years ago. I moved to Crafton 2 years ago when I was happy at my current place. I have a relative that lives on Emily Street, and after visiting her several times, I realized this was a wonderful place to live. Very small town community. We're from about an hour away in Metro, as previously discussed. And that's what I was looking for in the city, the opportunities of the city with a small town atmosphere. And that's what we have here, and we love it here. So, about 4 months ago, maybe a little longer, I had encouraged him to move out to the city because he again was looking for more business opportunity, a larger place, but a nice small community as well. So he now resides here, and I've talked it up quite thoroughly because I do love it here. I purchased my home, I'm not renting. So I'm here on behalf of him and his business. We agreed that this would be a really great place to have his type of business because he is not just a tattoo artist, he's an artist in general. And as he stated, no drugs, no drinking, no smoking, no vaping, no nothing like that, just good, wholesome things. And he'd like to add arts in this community with great large back room, as you can see from the schematic. And it would be great to participate in some community building, something artistic in the community. And the problem that we're having is we're grouped in with adult-oriented businesses that are vastly different than what he is trying to do. And we would just like to see that separated. We feel that there is a stigma for tattoo shops, parlors, and that's understandable. I mean, the industry itself has made that happen. But I'm here to say that his mission and his shop is very different than those, and you should give us a chance. As John alluded, I have an interesting story for my tattoo that Mr. Plummer has given to me. About 8 months ago, I participated in a kidney transplant where I gave an old friend of mine one of my kidneys. It actually received a lot of local news coverage, then national news coverage, then international news coverage, which was very interesting. And of course, I've been interviewed and stuff, and I'm proud to say that I'm here in Crafton, that I live in Crafton, and I am very proud of that. So my tattoo that he's given to me is not anything, it's not on a whim, it's not a quick decision, it's not a rebellious thing. It's symbolic of a change in my life that was incredibly important. So it's almost a therapy session that he's given to me in this shop. And that to me is what tattoos kind of are these days. So the industry is changing, and we would just like to see Crafton change with it. And that's why we're asking for that separation, because to be grouped in with something of such a different nature just seems kind of inappropriate.
Thank you. I understand, thank you for sharing.
I have to give you a clap for
Yeah, for real.
giving your kidney to somebody. That is wonderful.
I wanted to clap too.
I got goosebumps.
Johnny, what's your last name?
Connors?
Connors, Johnny Connors.
Hi, how's everyone doing? So I'm here in full support of the tattoo shop opening. Like I said, my name's John Connors, pleasure to meet you guys. I actually grew up in Crafton, spent most of my childhood here, so I know what, at least as far as like 5-6 years ago, before I left the city, what Crafton had to offer, what the borough had to offer, what kind of residents have been here. Met most of my childhood friends in Crafton. So I've recently moved back to the area, and after I found out Dave was opening, a respectful tattoo shop that was more embracing the creative side of it, as opposed to the stigmas that are common in the industry. Obviously, I jumped on the opportunity. So I'll be a fellow artist at the shop. My parents are homeowners in Crafton. I currently live here. My aunt's a homeowner here. She actually operates a business that's in Crafton, and I hope to be a part of local business here and help to add back to the community after everything that's given me.
Thank you, Mr. Connors.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, so that's all the comment there. I'm going to take a break in public comment because we have, the solicitor's going to give a review and council needs to discuss a path forward.
One more citizen.
We have, there's a, for the noble
I didn't
issue.
get a chance, the list was gone, and Matt.
Yeah, there's going to be, we just need to, do you want to talk about Noble, about the tattoo parlor?
No.
I just want to take.
I do.
You
Oh.
do?
Yeah.
Okay, do you, come on up.
And then
I thought you were here for something else. I'm
Well, I
sorry.
am, but now I I have to talk. You guys know that about me by now, probably.
3 minutes, man, 3 minutes.
3 minutes. real
3
quick.
minutes.
I think it's
Matt Reiner.
Matt Reiner, 91 North Emily Street, resident, 49 and a half some years. It just falls into the same concept that you guys have been working on with trying to change, some of the zoning issues and what have you. I think that this gentleman has presented some really great information. I've also had my own situations with some of my children where tattoos and piercings have done not only medical, but also psychological help with things. And as this young lady stated, tattoos are not, and piercings are not what most of us grew up as being. You guys are pretty young and everything, so it's a little bit different, but I'm an old coot anymore. But I really think you guys need to give this gentleman some consideration and, try to read between the lines with how it's written, because it's not an adult bookstore, it's not an adult lingerie store. And nothing would be better than to have more artists in our community. Absolutely. So I just wanted to, as a resident, I want to stand up on his behalf.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Yeah, he's not a paid actor.
Thank you. So we're going to let Mr. Corbel talk about the legal path forward and about how this needs to work and council needs to think about this. So go ahead.
No problem. I just want to address the initial concern, which is why tattoo parlors. Now, I obviously wasn't here when this was adopted or drafted, but in dealing with this issue elsewhere, it appears to me that the issue was that there were concerns that the piercings and/or the tattoos could be done on sensitive areas, genital areas, on a woman's breast, etc., and that pulled it into an adult wearing where somebody could walk into the shop, right? You walk in and you could see that, and maybe you didn't want to. That's what the theory is.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that you guys are doing
If you
that.
like, can I speak on that?
Yeah, sure.
Would you like me to come up?
Yeah.
So-
I'm just saying that's why it was lumped in.
Absolutely, and I get that. And as part of company policy, we don't do sensitive areas just as we don't do minors, even though we're allowed to. as company policy, we don't do that because we're not into that. And you can't do a good piece on a sensitive area like that. We do artwork. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's very difficult.
We'll take your word.
Okay. I'll send you pictures. Give me your email.
No. So that's kind of why I think it was set up that way. So moving forward, there's a couple issues that I've identified. First is, under our zoning ordinance, adult-oriented businesses are not permitted in the commercial district here. They are permitted in the industrial district, which that's not where this is located. So in order to address this issue, there's two primary methods of attack. One is the applicant, Mr. Plummer, can file with the zoning hearing board for what is called a use variance. He would have to go, put on his case, and the zoning hearing board would then decide whether or not to grant him the use variance, which would allow the use of the tattoo parlor. The other option available to council is to consider his request and determine whether or not you would like to amend the zoning ordinance in such a way that would permit a tattoo parlor in the zoning district, or perhaps other zoning districts in the borough where they are not permitted today. Those are the two primary courses of action. And there are risks on both sides. If you stick with council and council decides to move forward because of county review, etc., planning commission review, you're probably looking at least another 90-day window before there could be an adopted ordinance that would permit it. If you went to the zoning hearing board, you might get a hearing within 30 days. In fact, you probably would, but there's a risk that if you go there, the zoning hearing board could say, no, thank you. The burden to establish a use variance is very high. You basically have to prove that you can't use that property for anything else. And we've already had a statement from the property owner that it was used as a photo studio for many years. So that would be a hard burden, I think, to meet. That doesn't mean the zoning hearing board would not agree and grant you a variance because they see the bigger, maybe the bigger picture, if that's what we're talking about here. But that doesn't mean you couldn't have a few angry citizens show up and say they're against it, etc., and then they would have appeal rights. So even if the zoning hearing board would grant it, then the residents would have appeal rights downtown, and then Judge James is going to decide whether or not you can have a tattoo parlor, and that's probably a year from now. So that's basically the lay of the land for council at this point. Those are your two options. I will also note that under the current zoning regulations with respect to off-street parking, they would also require a variance for that. The adult-oriented use requires one off-street parking space for every 30 square feet. And I looked at this drawing and I kind of eyeballed it, and it looks like it's around 1,500 square feet or so, the space, and that would mean 50 plus off-street parking places, which obviously for a use such as this is ridiculous. I mean, if you had 52 people come in a week, you'd probably be pretty happy. Wouldn't mind, yeah. Let alone on any one occasion. So if council decides to go down the road of a zoning amendment, I would strongly suggest that we look at this from the perspective of what the use really is, taking it out of an adult-oriented use, perhaps creating a new use, or categorizing it as just a simple commercial use, and ensuring that the parking is sufficient, but not onerous. Like, that doesn't make sense. If you had a strip club or something, maybe you would need 52 spaces, but certainly not for a tattoo club.
So, question for you.
Yes.
With regards to, we go down the road of a proposed ordinance or that needs to go through review, does the doctrine of...
The same, yeah, we could introduce the ordinance and...
Would that permit them to move forward with what they want to do, or do they have to wait until we...
It could permit them to move forward, yes. It would permit them to move forward. They would apply under those rules.
Okay.
But they put themselves at risk that the ordinance would not be adopted. So what he's talking about is there's a doctrine in law called the pending ordinance doctrine, and council has used that already this year. And if they propose an amendment to the zoning ordinance and they state by resolution that's their intent, and there'll be a meeting with the planning commission and they plan to adopt it on a date certain or on a date after a date certain, that resolution has the effect of passing the zoning change. But from your perspective, I'm like the lawyer for everybody tonight. From your perspective, that you could potentially be at risk if you move forward and you opened the business and you started work, which under that doctrine would be permissible. Council ultimately, within that 3 or 4 month period, could vote no on the ordinance. That would make the change, and then the council could come in and shut down. The borough could shut down your business at that point. And so, you're putting yourself out there, and there's a risk involved with that. So,
I have a business about 600 feet from where he's at. I have a huge parking lot. Him and his employees could park there anytime they want.
and that would be something, if you had a written agreement, that could be considered by the borough when looking at the number of parking spaces that you would need. So that's very, very nice. Also,
May I ask a question to the gentleman who's the photographer?
Yes.
So you had a business there that was by appointment only, correct?
This
Yes.
me?
No, sir.
Yes,
So-
photography business.
I have tattoos. I only went in by appointment 95% of the time. Very rarely did I ever go in and get something done off the cuff. So when you dealt with appointments, what was your traffic flow like down
I
there?
had no problem, it's just the way you set your appointments hourly. Okay, if you're having a portrait sitting in the morning, and you know it's gonna take about 2 hours, the next person coming in, there's about a half-hour leadway between appointments. I never had any really problems with that, until I wanted to get rid of the Calabrese building, and that's when I was gonna have a green space with parking lot there, but everybody knows, and Rob knows about that, so that's just like,
Yeah, then we'll save that for the next.
Rob, I didn't wanna get, Rob, I didn't wanna get into it. But no, there wasn't any really problem with my 3 spaces, and I've been there since '95.
Right.
And I made a fantastic
And
living
did
there.
you have any additional employees in your time there? Or was it just-
Oh, yes, yeah, I had 2 employees, and they parked either on the street or by Dollar General.
So between you, 2 employees, and clients coming in and out at a fairly brisk pace, your parking needs were somewhat met?
It was no problem, though, that's no problem. And I usually didn't park there either, so left it open for my people coming in.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for your time.
Can
I
I
appreciate
just informally poll the feelings of this council? Is the idea of amending the ordinances and reclassifying where tattoo parlors are defined something that council wants to discuss, continue to discuss at this meeting, or wait till the next meeting so we can sleep on what we've heard? I sort of just want an informal around the room. Fred?
I think we should try to help them.
Okay. Mr. Kraus?
I mean, yeah, I agree.
Ms. Perry?
I would agree. I mean, one thing that I'm hearing is that state licensure allows for some of the things that Mr. Corvo mentioned. And I would want to make sure that those sorts of things would be addressed. That because this is one organization who has certain policies, but we can't move forward assuming that anyone who would want to do similar businesses, state licensing, allows for tattooing of sensitive areas. So I would want to see that addressed in some way. But overall, I understand the case, and I look at so many of my younger employees and that sort of thing. I understand that the whole culture has really changed around it.
Mr. Rosario?
No, the only thing I was gonna say is I think we could address your concern through the zoning change, where you could even have a tattoo adult oriented where that type of activity occurred versus a tattoo commercial, which would not have that kind of. Exactly. Something like that.
It's very.
It's a smart guy.
I would agree that we help out as much as we can though, but I also agree with Ms. Perry though, and what Mr. Fuller was mentioned though, that having it cleared out though, not having any kind of vagueness at all associated with it, and limiting it would be beneficial for everyone though, and kind of clear any water that we may have out of it.
I have to agree with them. I think it'd be good to have another business here in town. My concern though is, I had asked you, is as far as the parking goes, because I know it's very limited in this area. And that if Pat said that you would have a nice agreement between the two of you for parking.
Can I also address that, please?
Mhm.
Primarily, because I am by appointment only as well, I don't accept walk-ins. I do a lot of, you might know what I'm talking about, but I do a lot of portraiture and realism. Those are usually 4-hour sessions, somewhere around 3 to 6 hours I'm working, and that's it for the day. I'm usually tapped after that. So I don't do a lot of walk-ins. This isn't, you know what I mean, like it's not a huge foot traffic area. I don't like doing little tiny, $40, $50 pieces. I like to work for a little bit longer of a period of time and focus on one thing. So it'd be sort of similar when I would, as far as planning my appointments, we're talking like 1 car a day, and especially if I'm biking down, free spot too, so, yeah.
Yes, and Elton, and let him get started and.
Okay, so, Mr. Recordable, I think we would have to have you draft an ordinance, and then we have to vote on that ordinance at the next meeting, because I don't feel comfortable drafting something on the spot here.
I can prepare something for council's review for the next meeting.
Sure.
And I can have a resolution ready for the next meeting as well, if council wants to move that forward. And as soon as it's drafted, I can distribute it to the group. And if you have comments, anybody, you can email me directly, not the group, so we don't have any Sunshine Act issues.
Yeah, and I'd like the business owner and the property owner to provide you with their contact information. I know we already have it through Mr. Feldman's office, but I just want to make sure that that's on record, and before you contact them, they contact them directly to clarify anything.
As you said before, while this is going on, can he operate the business pending that, in that little area of business?
Not until council acts, at least on the resolution, which Mr. Lavasser is saying he would like council to be in a position to do that at the meeting on the 25th, June 25th.
Yeah, because we can't hastily, try to draft this, because we want to make sure that we're being genuine and.
I thought I'd give it a shot.
That's understandable. The more specific, the better.
Yeah.
That'll be fantastic. We appreciate your concern.
I'll be sure.
All right, so I feel like we can put this to bed, and I don't know if we need a motion for.
You can authorize me to do it.
Yeah, so I'd like the motion to authorize the solicitor to draft a ordinance for tattoo parlors and body piercings, removing them from the adult-oriented businesses of chapter 60,
Chapter 225.
sorry, chapter 225.
Second.
Okay, sorry. All right. All
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on to the other citizens' comments about parking on Emily. Kristen? Thank you for your patience as we got through that conversation.
No problem. I've never done this before, so it's very new. But my name's Kristen Scholey. I live on North Emily Street. I own my home with my husband. I grew up on Union Avenue in a big old Victorian. I chased Victorians over to Highland Park. Interesting neighborhood, very fun, East Liberty, up and coming, more up now than coming. But just wasn't quite the same, and so I convinced my husband, who really liked that area, he's from Mount Lebanon, to look at properties here in Crafton. And so here we are now on North Emily, so I'm really happy to be a homeowner here. I had emailed some of you, I didn't want to inundate everybody, but I didn't leave anybody out, as a personal slight. But so North Emily has a little bit of a unique situation in that the busway, which is absolutely fantastic, is right at the bottom of our street. And so we get a lot of commuter traffic
where during the day they will come and they're lovely people, and they will come and they'll park on the street. But sometimes that creates a problem for us as residents on North Emily because they're not always gone by the time that we return home. And as you guys know, Crafton does not have a whole ton of off-street parking options. So a lot of the homes on North Emily, because of their how they were designed and how the lots are spaced, there's not an option for putting off-street parking necessarily. So it creates a little bit of a boondoggle. I'm not trying to be a bad neighbor or anything like that. I personally use the busway. I've been using the busway since 2003 when I came back to Pittsburgh and started working out in the Shadyside, Oakland area. So I utilize it every day, sometimes up to 6 buses a day, depending on where I'm going. So I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys and see if how much of a problem this has been for other people. What feedback have you received from people that lived on Emily or in the surrounding area, and what your thoughts were as far as how can we encourage the commuters to use the busway. They come in from the people I've talked to all over the area, some as far as Canonsburg. People come in from Robinson because they cannot park at that park and ride. So how can we share the busway with them, but also allow us to be able, when we come home from work, 5 o'clock, we have a place to park that's not 2 blocks away or 3 miles away. So that's my spiel.
I'm gonna reply to you. So we need more of our residents giving us testimonies like this so we can take it to Allegheny County and the Port Authority. It's very important that we get your feedback on this issue. There are options. Crafton, Carnegie, Ingram are all being considered through the University of Pittsburgh Connect program and the Transit-Oriented Development initiative here. As we all know, Crafton is poised to really take advantage of the fact that we are so close to the core and we are so close to the international airport. And as the region rebounds and becomes a national focus for development. As we all know, there's been a lot of discussion about tech moving in, and we already do have Amazon in our backyard, people know it or not. And it's important that we address this issue. Mr. Rosario uses the park and ride, and numerous other members of this council have observed it. The issues on Emily, and we hear you loud and clear. We just need to continue working to see what kind of resources there are. The comment about permit parking is something that council can consider. It's not going to alleviate the overarching issue. The first part of this conversation, public comment, was, all right, we're gonna talk about, hey, we want business, but where are you gonna park your people? All right, so this meeting is a perfect example for us to use as talking points for economic development, talking DCD and the county and with Port Authority. So I think parking permits might help you, but it's not going to solve the problem, because we actually want to attract the commuters, and we want people to value the community for where we are. So I think our intern, Chris Bell, in the back is going to be soaking this in, and he's going to be working with council to help us with these initiatives. So I would say check back with us in September, see where we are, see what options we have. I would pause on the idea of permit parking at this point, because we really need to comprehensively think about this, because there are other parts of the community that have very similar issues, and a lot of the issues relate back to commuters, and we need to figure out the situation. Other communities like Carnegie have recently installed parking meters. I don't know if that's really the feel that we want for our neighborhoods with the parking meters. Maybe downtown. There's an article from like 1950 or 1953 in the historical room talking about Crafton getting parking meters. They're no longer here, so there has to be a reason why they're here or they're not here. So I think we really do have a supply-demand issue, and we are going to continue to outstrip supply as the region grows. And so we need to make the business case that if South Hills, who has a nice parking garage over there for the T, why don't we have one here, all right? And Ingram and Crafton and Carnegie all, are being affected by this, because as the region grows, we want people using our international airport, and we want people going to work. We need to have a place for them to park. I mean, yeah, maybe Uber and Lyft are gonna take demand for cars, and we're not gonna have cars, but the reality is, for the next 10 to 20 years, I don't see the issue with cars going away. Actually, I see more vehicles. You might have autonomous vehicles, you might have piloted vehicles, but transportation is going to become a bigger issue for us because the region is growing, which is great. It's great for Crafton, but if we don't get this equation right, we could possibly be chasing away the types of homeowners and investors that we need here to take care of this community. So I wanted to add that to the conversation. I know Ms. Thomas, Patty Thomas would like to also come and speak about Park Street. And I know there's also concerns about parking from overflow from North Emily onto Park Street as well, and the issues that are going to be coming up with some of the rehabilitation and the gas line work. So Ms. Thomas, if you'd like to come up and tell your story.
30 minutes, Patty, 30 minutes.
Timing. Hi folks, I am Patty Thomas. I've lived in Crafton for over 20 years, a homeowner since '04. And just in case you don't know how bad Park Street is, I have taken some photos. You've come by personally and seen how bad it is.
Yeah.
So if you could just take a look and pass these around.
We've been here a couple times.
Oh, you have, okay. So maybe you don't need to look. What you're looking at is directly across my house. The Abrahams live in the blue house, which they cannot even get into the garage. Now, we've actually had a problem with our street for over 4 years. It now has reached the point that they actually put barriers up for the safety of going down that street. It's not safe to walk in the dark anywhere around this. It is a big issue, it is a safety issue. Now, some of our concern is why we bought our houses in Crafton. And a lot of us like the charm of the brick pavers. I actually have a petition. I got over 30 names on here. It took me about an hour and a half. 2 hours because I talk a lot. I can get 3 times that if I had a little more time to show you that people really do like that we do have streets that look like cobblestone or bricks. Just saying it, we would like when it gets repaired to look originally like the street that we bought our property on. Just if you want to take a look at the names, I'll be glad to get more if that would help. Okay. Also, we do know natural gas, natural gas is coming. We've been warned, we've been sent letters. I've gotten voice messages left for me telling me they're starting to work this week. Now, all they've done this week, which is at the end of the photos, they've taken a lot of spray paint and done a lot of street art, basically. So when they say they're only going to be tearing up the sidewalks, I don't know why then they got lines all over the streets, all the way down to Emily. We are concerned about that. We're concerned where we're also going to be parking when they block our street. We know they have to repair it, but if they're saying they're not going to be touching the street, it has to be fixed by someone. We don't know if it is all of the gas company's fault. We don't know. These are the rumors we're hearing. Hopefully it is their fault and they'll fix it.
So
But we want you to know that we're aware of it, and we wanted you to know what we've been living with. Anyway, my neighbor wrote a letter for you folks. I'm just going to read a little part of it because I like the points that she's made. This would be Emily's Babcock. She also lives on Park
I
Street.
talked to this woman out front of my house. I shanghaied her once for about a 45-minute conversation.
Isn't she fascinating? She's a
great.
lovely lady.
And I was actually going to ask you about it because she went into detail about Park Avenue probably back in May or April. And so I've been aware of it for a while. I don't drive on Park as much as I'd like to because I really don't want to destroy my suspension.
Oh my God, well, for 4 years you had to bottom out.
Yeah.
I actually liked it because people actually slowed down, and we do have little kids around there. But I mean, now it's just like, it looks like a tidal wave of bricks.
Please continue.
Okay.
Oh, God, but yours is the same.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yes.
I'll have to go take a look. Okay, she addresses to Mayor James Bloom and the members of the Borough of Crafton Council. Her and her husband have been residents of Crafton since '09. and they believe one of the charms of our town lies within the several brick streets that line the borough. As residents of Park Street, we have received notice from People's Gas intending to begin work on the gas lines on our street, which include digging up a portion of the brick street. As such, we strongly encourage Crafton Borough Council, which I know it's Borough Crafton Council, to work with People Gas to ensure our streets are returned to the original brick surface once work is completed, rather than diminish the aesthetic value of the neighborhood by replacing the brick with asphalt. In addition to the beauty value, brick streets alleviate the potential for flooding by allowing the water to drain through the spaces between the bricks, and also serves as a natural traffic calming aid, which is important because we do have small children living on our street. Thank you for your attention in this matter, the Babcocks and Patty Thomas. So, do you want to see these? These are actually addressed to you all.
Yeah, you can enter them into that, that's fine, thank you.
And this is just proof that they intend work this week.
Thank you.
So,
Any-
yeah, could
any
you pass the
questions for
photos
us?
around? I think we hear you loud and clear, we're gonna let Mr. Kozarowski give us an update.
Sure. And like I said, part of the concern is that we will be having to park somewhere else while they're repairing the street, which probably will be more than Emily adding to the problem that Kristen was bringing up earlier.
I'm gonna have to slash her tires.
I'm just gonna park in your yard.
Okay, just to give council and the public an update on what's going on with the gas company. I met with the gas company probably 3 months ago before they even started work on Crafton Boulevard in anticipation of the state paving of that section actually going from the west end all the way down Dinsmore, the whole state maintained road in Crafton Borough in the city of Pittsburgh. Nobletown, Popular, which they haven't started paving yet. Gas company, we met, and then I was told the Park Street is going to be on the line repair, new line installed from Park Street going all the way down to Broadhead. And obviously, the condition of the road that's been going on for 3 to 4 years, like you said, unfortunately was right over the gas line. So any work that we could do, one cause has been temporary and it didn't hold because of the condition of the base. We couldn't fully replace the base because of concerns about the gas line and so forth. So when I met with the gas company, I said, oh, this is great. I mean, we have a situation up here, your gas line's right under it. Will you repair it? We'll have to repair it when we do the gas line. Initially, the plan was to go straight down Park Street from North Emily to Linwood in the street. Sidewalk was going to go from Linwood all the way down to Broadhead in the sidewalk. Now, I was told, not by a representative of the gas company I dealt with, but an associate of mine that actually works on the crew said, we're moving to the sidewalk, they're going to run a gas line down the sidewalk. I said, we still have to disconnect, so you're going to have to do at least base work and repair on the street. So that's in the discussion stages right now. In Crafton, again, with the brick streets, there's a number of residents that love the brick streets. Belvedere. Belvedere is a historical street to a certain extent. Creighton Avenue, historical street, it's already landmarked. My proposal, my recommendation to council is in next year's budget to actually have a brick and block repair line with this road improvement program. Belvedere is not going to be a one-year fix because the cost to do brick repair versus asphalt is almost 4 times the cost. So you're going to take a big portion of your road program and use it up if you do all brick work. My plan is a 5-year plan like Belvedere. Put that on the list, do a 5-year plan and budget for 5 years and have the street completed in 5 years. And the streets that council chooses, Creighton Avenue, there's a section of Creighton that needs repaired close to Noble. Well, that probably could be done maybe this year if the funding goes well with the proposed budget we have now, and we have some extra funds, including Crafton Boulevard that's on a paving budget for the borough, which might be taken on by the state. The brick streets are gonna have to be a pick and choose. You're gonna have to make a decision. Park Street is asphalt on Linwood, it's asphalt on Emily. So it's gonna be a decision. Do we make that section brick, or would be consistent with the paving that we have on the other side on Park Street going down on Broadhead and consistent with the 2 cross streets that you have? Park would be a tough one to justify putting back on bricks, just from my opinion as a public works employee. The other streets like Belvedere, the full brick, that meets a brick intersection at East Crafton, you could justify that repair, and it is a historical street, I believe, in Crafton. It's one of the oldest and probably most, what's a proper word, like a trademark street. Creighton is already a historical landmark, it's marked, So it's gonna be up to borough, or the council to make a decision, how much you wanna appropriate for brick repairs and restoration, put it in the budget, and then go for it in the next year in the 2019 road program. So Park Street's gonna be difficult. I mean, the gas company comes in, a lot of those bricks are shot. We do have a stockpile down at the Borough Garage Public Works Facility that we could supply from the, and when we did Walnut Street, we kept all those bricks. So we could match it for repairs, and they'd probably only do the gutter line, the worst part, where the brick are sitting up and down, and you could ride on Park Street, just stay out of the gutter lane. But anyhow, I mean, it's been an ongoing problem. That base is shot all the way down. So I mean, hopefully when they do it, I could have them do the brick repair of the gutter line. The rest of the street will remain as is, but they can't. They will have to do the repair where they excavate it. Might be a 3-4 foot section along the gutter. But it'll be new base of brick, and I'll offer to supply the brick from our garage if that happens now.
If it's feasible, that would be lovely. I mean, if they can patchwork that main section, if they're talking about doing the gas line repairs on the sidewalk, they're gonna have to get in that one section that's a disaster.
The worst part's the gutter line on Park.
Yeah.
And I know the water company, they don't even question, they do all brick repair on Ewing Road, the Ewing, Union, that one section of Ewing.
Yeah, we've had water problems before too. And they usually
The water company's great, the gas company, you know, I haven't had a successful interaction with them, and it's relatively new in this position, but I think that we want the brick back, and if they do the gutter, I can have them put the brick back. So, not the full street, just
Oh,
the
no, I understand.
excavation.
Just a quick question. Would you guys like to see more signatures? Because I'll be glad to canvass
To
for
be
it.
honest, with the Park Street, when you do a, I'll go back to my experience with the city where I was all these years. Anytime you asphalt over a brick or block street, the Belgian block streets you have in the city, you circulate a petition. And if 51% of the residents, it has to be the residents, it can't be somebody from Clearview that says they want to keep Park Street brick, or somebody from North Emily wants to keep Park. It has to be the residents on Park that say, we want to keep it a brick street. Then you have a fight. You get a dog in a fight. They say, we want to keep it brick. So then, you know, and the old ways of doing it.
Okay, give me my list back, I can do that.
By the same token, it's a whole plan too. This is asphalt, this is asphalt, this.
I do understand that. I just wanted to let you know what my neighbors and I were feeling.
So we have a shot. I mean, we have a shot. We have a shot to get the gutter fixed and repair, which is the worst part of the park anyhow, is right there. We can get that done.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas, and thank you, Mr. Kozarowski. There are no other comments. I'd like to move to adjournment.
She does the minutes.
one more.
And I still need to talk about the parking.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm looking at my list.
No, and I know you want to get out of here too.
No,
Respectfully.
No, I just was looking at the list. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Hi, my name is Christine Sebastian. I've been here before on the same issue. And I called Ron the other day, and he was nice enough to call me back today, but I missed his call. I'm sorry.
Sorry, just repeat your name again.
Christine Sebastian. I live, my boyfriend and I own the apartments on the corner of Steuben and Duncan. And a few years back, Ron came down and they were nice enough to take a tree and clean the sewer on the side of the building, which has helped tremendously. There's a small sewer on Duncan that right now has fallen down because of the water. So now the sewer sits up and nothing goes down. But the last few weeks with the rain, the water coming down Steuben goes from, we watched it, it comes down Churchill, goes around the bend, and it was so bad last night that you couldn't even drive down on Steuben. That everything stops in front of our building. Now, it took me 45 minutes just to clean the grate off. That's how much mud and everything. So when the water doesn't go down, as soon as the cars go by, it goes up over our driveway. Our driveway is totally washed out. Then all those stones now go in the other drain in front of our garage, and it overflowed again last night. So my question is, I don't know how to solve the problem on Steuben. I mean, I sent you pictures today, Ron. Did you get them?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah,
I didn't know how to send them, so.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, the amount of water goes down, I've witnessed that myself as far as coming up.
I mean,
Steuben Street.
people have stopped and just stared at it. It is that bad. And Ron has the pictures now, I'm glad I got
I mean,
it.
there's a catch basin right on Steuben before Duncan. There's a catch basin at Duncan, the one you talked about, the creek.
Well, that little one now is not catching anything. The water's going like around it because
Not the one on Duncan, but the two on, there's three on Steuben.
we're at,
The one in front of your property, there's one
Yeah.
up from your property, and the one on Duncan that needs readjusted.
well, the one above, across from Walgreens, is just a little tiny sewer. The opening's about this big. I don't know where the other grade is.
No, I'm just talking about the ones at Duncan and Steuben.
Oh, okay. There's one on the other side of Duncan, but that just doesn't get there.
Yeah, I'm gonna, hate to say, I think it's gotten worse since they paved the road. I'm gonna,
Well, it's horrible. It is, and then when they paved it in our driveways, we asked them to keep a little lip on, you know, like the curb, just to, so they made it so smooth that that water, as soon as it rains, it just goes right down the driveway.
we could do something for you there with our in-house, I mean, with the public
Yeah,
works group. We
the
could do something
drain,
there.
I mean, that water is so bad and nothing catches it. I just don't know.
And I believe we had the backer out clearing catch basins on Steuben Street 2 weeks ago, I believe, when he was in there, it was 2 weeks ago, we had him on Steuben Street corridor. So really, one, I'm gonna take your pictures and send it to PennDOT to show them what's going on there.
Yeah.
And two, I can come out, I wanna lower that catch basin. It's a concrete, it's gonna take a little bit of work to drop that one on Duncan. On
yeah.
Bridge Street, and drop that where it should be, put it on grade, and we'll definitely get you a little asphalt windrow curb in front of your
Yeah.
driveways there.
But
That helped divert it, but that, I've seen that.
That water is just,
And really, I would have loved to see that water diverted into our new,
Rain
drain.
40.
That would have been, if we could put some diversions in there instead of rain.
Yeah.
That's where it's.
Speaking of that, is Grande going to make sure the vegetation in that rain garden is, because it's not growing?
our water will help it.
You can't say we haven't had enough rain, so.
Oh, no.
So-
I'll give that to the engineer. The engineer is in charge of that project, and I'll refer that.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
sounds
it's gonna be very, yes, last night I was out, and as soon as it started to rain, I fly home because I know the situation. So when I got home, I was going down Steuben. Cars were actually going on the other side of the street to divert from that river there. And then when the other ones would come this way, the water just goes, it actually hits the garage doors, which is a long way down.
Yeah.
It's just very, very bad.
It sounds like Mr. Kaczorowski's gonna work with you and maybe give us 60 days and come
Oh,
back.
that's
and let us
fine,
know.
I just, we thought it would get better too, but since they paved and everything, it's just horrible.
I'm gonna get your pictures to PennDOT to show them
Okay.
exactly what's
Oh,
going on.
but Benton was supposedly gonna take care of that a couple of years ago. We
That
had
was-
state representatives down there, and everybody said, yeah, we're gonna get this taken
We
care of.
actually,
That's been a problem.
that was part of.
Before the paving part.
That was part of the pipe bursting project we did that ran along from the pool parking lot, the river stage.
Yeah.
The state pipe came in and ran a whole new storm line. Cut the tree down, got rid of the roof,
Yeah,
put a
that
whole new
helped.
storm
That
line. I
helped.
think your rain leaders are tied into that storm line where they should be. So that, I mean, that helps, because that line was totally clogged and destroyed, they were really getting back.
Yeah,
Every day rains. Now, that rain, though, again,
We had like 2 inches.
yeah, it was a record-breaking rainfall. There wasn't that much rainfall fall in that period of time since 1930. So that
But
was,
even if it's a steady rain, you just have to watch that sewer because the branches and leaves and everything from the top, I swear from the top of not top of Steuben, but by Churchill, just come down and there's nowhere for it to go except that.
we'll do that. I'm gonna send your pictures to PennDOT tomorrow.
Okay.
And, I'll probably get asphalt depending on the weather, if not this week, next week, and we'll put a little wedge curve in there to help divert some minor rainfalls. That's something like yesterday, not gonna keep it out, but.
Right,
this,
I understand with the heavy rainfall.
Give you a
it's
little bit of
really
curb,
bad.
and then I'll have to schedule that. There's what to do, Jack, there's a lot of work in that catch basin to raise drip drops.
Yeah,
So we'll get that scheduled too, so that's my
well, I'm
problem.
glad you got the pictures because I didn't know what I was
Exactly.
doing. Thank
Great
you.
shots.
Yeah, thank you.
The last time, she had a landscaping tie in her pipe.
No, it was bad. That was bad. That was the new line we put, that's all brand new. That line, that's all brand new line.
Get a potato.
Yeah.
The storm lines, that was all brand new.
Storm lines did it, that was great. This is the main. This one is
3 minutes, man.
I'll be pretty quick.
Oh, good, thank you.
Go, Matt.
But I did need to comment on that. That's been going on for 43 years. The
He used to live.
I grew
right
up there.
too.
Same building, 43 years it's been going on.
Yeah, it's horrible.
We lost more furnaces and hot water tanks over the years. But anyhow,
It's true.
back to North Emily parking, Matt Griner.
Is that the official reason why you came?
Yes, that's my official reason.
Who are you again?
Matt Griner, 91 North Emily Street. I actually own the house right beside Kristen. I have 27 North Emily. It's a house that I'm in the process of selling, and one of my biggest problems is when someone comes to look at the house, where are we supposed to park?
Same issue Mr. Neely had.
Well, I'm sorry?
Same issue Mr. Neely had.
Yes,
That's my house.
yes.
Yeah, I own the front house.
But
Thank you for not buying it.
with all due respect to what you were saying about September, we need to address this problem now. They did it with East Crafton, the previous council, on East Crafton Avenue, because, I don't know if you're aware of it, but the high rise does not have enough parking for its residents. Also, there are apartments over top of Dance Time and, some of the other places along East Crafton Avenue, where they did the permit thing for residential residents. I'm constantly over there working on the house, doing landscaping, what have you. There is literally, during the day, nowhere to park. Now, not only is it compounded by the aspect of the busway people, you also now have put in, the road crew put in a emergency parking, no parking area for whenever they're plowing Park Street, because they have nowhere to put the snow. So right now it's not an issue, but in the wintertime it's an even bigger issue, because there's probably 3 spots worth of 2 to 3 spots where you're not allowed to park because of emergency road maintenance during the winter. You also have, and again, this isn't council's problem, but it's just the issue of Crafton, is right next door to Kristen and my house, and right across from Patty's house is you have 2 apartment buildings, well, conversions. It's 2 conversions. They both have 3 apartments each in them, I believe. Might be 3 and 2, something like that. Each person, they're all rented, and each person, each resident, each floor has a minimum of 1, and I believe 3 or 4 of them have 2 cars each. So between 2 buildings, they're taking up approximately 7 to 9 spots. Then you have my house, then you have Kristen's house, and busway people, well, and then you also have the Burgesses that have their cars. There's nowhere to park. Nowhere. During the day,
There's a big
nowhere.
lot on Park Street.
Yeah, some gentleman owns, I don't know who
Yeah.
owns that.
There are.
That is actually privately owned.
I know.
Right,
We have,
I
we have
know,
permission
I
to
know.
park on it.
But my point is that from now until, there's, even if it's a temporary type of thing, that it should be somehow posted as a permit parking only. I mean, they do it all over, all over the city of Pittsburgh and the surrounding, areas, Mount Lebanon, so forth and so
Just to
on.
interrupt you, Matt, where I grew up in Mount Lebanon, and the border of Scott and Mount Lebanon was an absolute, we would like to avoid what they have going on in Mount Lebanon. So we.
Well, I'm just,
we don't want to
but-
emulate what they're doing over there.
But something in the interim, I mean, because there are several streets that are highly affected, one being North Emily. I mean, I'm not talking all of North Emily, I'm just talking basically the hill part, from like the Burgesses up to Warren. Because it's not fair to, even though those 2 conversions were put there, and yeah, nowadays you have to have 2 spots, but so on and so on. I understand that, but it's not fair to those residents, because they don't have anywhere to park. We don't have anywhere to park. And it's all because of people that don't live here. And I understand we want to be inviting, and we want people to use our businesses and so on and so on. But here, to take what you said further about, not wanting to have meter parking and everything. Look at what Carnegie did, okay? Carnegie is bustling every single day. I'm there every day. I do all my banking there. I do my post office there. I do everything. Why? Because it's all in one spot. And for 25 cents, I get a half hour's worth of parking. I pull in, I park right by where I need to be, and it's 25 cents, okay? So you have all these different businesses on East Crafton Avenue that, because of busway people, the businesses can't thrive. Because it's a 4-hour parking limit, but nobody's enforcing it. So why not turn a place like, I'm digressing a little bit, but why not turn a place like East Crafton Avenue into a one-way street? Because if you go down the street, everybody's facing the illegal direction anyhow.
So, let me put it this way, since we're not gonna solve this problem this evening,
All right.
I'm gonna say, we motion to advertise for our planning commission meetings, June 26th, we're gonna have our interns, and I'd encourage you and any other residents in North Emily Park Street, come on down, let's talk about the issues, come up with some ideas, and propose some solutions to council, and then let's see where the conversation goes. I as council president and speaking on council here, we can't solve this problem tonight. Well, we've been doing a pretty nice job with Mr. Tazarowski answering a lot of the questions, but this one in particular is ties into a bigger global issue.
Absolutely.
Just to give you a heads up, I had 2 years in the Pittsburgh Parking Authority, and I was in charge of the on-street meters and off-street parking. And now, my whole goal was to put as many meters as I could, because it all generated revenue.
Sure.
And there was situations in Oakland and so forth, where you had commuters, and people working in hospitals that would park. So I said, this is great, I'll do a 10-hour meter, make, $100 a day, whatever it is, and put the meters in, those cars move. They can move farther and deeper in the residential area where those meters are. So
Right.
meters aren't the answer. I mean,
No, I'm just talking about it I was only talking about it in that professional district as a possibility to help deter.
Probably the best thing for something like North Emily would be parking restrictions as far as hours.
Yeah.
You put so many hours of parking restrictions, and then it's enforced by the police.
Right, but that leads, I love that, and we'll continue to talk about it, but we have to make sure that the police actually enforce it.
Oh, sure.
Or we need to, well, they don't own East Crafton Avenue anymore. Supposedly got in trouble for marking tires or whatever, and it's a 4-hour parking limit, and there's cars there for 4 and 5 days. 4 and 5 days, people going to the
Police
airport.
station and say there are cars that need checked on these Crafton Avenue. They'll check them.
So again, thank you for coming out.
3 minutes
And
are up.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for coming to our meeting. That was very productive, and I look forward to seeing everybody.
Just to the folks out there that are having parking issues, you're not the only people. There's a lot of other streets. I personally talked to my neighbors on Belvedere who have some issues, on Chartiers, so. Fountains.
2 ways.
I noticed
Deal with that?
it affects everybody here equally, and it's gonna be something that the entire borough is gonna have to come together on. And when he encourages folks with this issue to come to a planning committee meeting, it's in your best interest to do so, and make your voices heard.
Thank you so much. I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you for all for attending.
It's been 2 weeks forever.
Can't do nothing about it. I already did that with council, been there, done it. So I can guarantee you if you get your street, which is twice as wide as mine,
No, they're allowed to make it.
if you can get your one way, I guarantee I'll go get mine.
They're allowed to make it.
Just let you know.
They're allowed to do whatever they want. Look, you're talking to somebody else. I've gotten all kind of land development.
You're allowed to make it 15 mile an hour.
Yes.
No, you're not.
Yes, you are.
No, you're not.
Yes, you are.
The state law. The state law, you have to be in so many, area of park in order to be 15. Well, then tell them that, because they're wrong.
Yes, they are. I'm telling you, Kath.
Okay,
They can do whatever they want,
okay.
but they can't enforce it. They
Oh, I've
can't,
been coming here for 2 years.
Okay, so you will be.
they can't legally enforce it. They can make it 15, but they can't legally enforce it.
But tell Jimmy.
I'm so unaware with parking, and I wouldn't even have mentioned it.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, that's where my husband grew up, and you can't park on the street.
You
I'm
cannot
like,
park on the street ever.
I know.
But what they do is they take advantage of the system by saying, well, that's
For 5 days, everybody should be for 5 days.
the cops would do it, and, just let that go, and all of a sudden, now, this is just like,
Could you tell him that you're not allowed to make a one-way, that you're not allowed to make a street 15 miles an hour? Unless it's near a park?
Well, backbone is, so is that why backbone's 15?
There's state requirements.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, and that's it.
It's a state.
your guys' is right on.
I don't know if I didn't wanna like, do that thing. I felt like kind of a jerk. I don't know.
You're here to work.
Oh, well, this is Jackson, and I'm actually friends with you,
Show me, I walk.
Oh, so you know,
My street, the church on my street.
What street do you live on? What street do you live on?
So, when I campaigned, I talked to the folks down by the Idlewild bus station. They all had the same. Because it goes all the way up to where you are at, or not all the way up there, but, I mean, you could in
it's
theory.
cool, so they, the commuters, like when I lived in Wyoming, I would get on the busway at Bainbridge, and people in Bainbridge, I would talk to them, they were going and parking in Crafton because Carnegie was already full. So they would drive to Crafton and park, and
My
then I
aunt lives in Robinson, Williamson, on the ridge.
Yes.
She comes every day and parks there.
Right, because then.
Right, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So, and I use the busway, so it's not, I'm trying to use it, so I get it, but I'm like, I'm not even lower insurance for like, I was for forever.
What house is it?
Right next to 2127 Northwest. It's
The bottom of your street is terrible. I mean, I came down, I stopped at left side.
Yeah, if you're going out, you're gonna have a house, I know.
Yeah, and then there's Yank.
Yeah, and then there's Shane, and then there's me, and then there's one right next to it, and they're like sisters here in the.
Oh, okay, so that's what he's trying to sell.
Well, yeah, but I think one of the problems you guys are getting, the realtors will show up with the clients, and they can answer. I don't know, but it's a turnoff, and the major reason why there's no risk is because of the two apartments, and then, Alice. Yeah. You can usually by 7 o'clock at night, it's just residential, but it's an interesting too, because I tried to like make friends with people that take the bus and convince them, hey, you're here early, you're here 8 o'clock, so park out the way. No.
It's okay.
Oh,
I don't know.
Hi, how are you?